cards with your favorite characters that are here. And we have the Winamat with the charity Winamat for Dan Green's twins. And we have autograph sessions today and tomorrow. So today and tomorrow they're separated into 5D's characters and classic characters kind of loosely because some of our voice actors did both the 5Ds and the classic series. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Do you want to kick it off, Greg?
I am Greg Abbey, and I played Tristan on the original series, and I played Yusei Fudo on 5Ds. I also was Raphael on Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, the teenage ones?
Not the elderly ones. I played teenage. So
That's me. I'm Darren Dunsten, and I play Pegasus on Yugioh, and Splinter on Ninja Turtles.
I'm Dan Green, and I played Yugi and Atem, and I also played Trudge in 5Ds, who originally started in the classic series as my short character. Remembered well. And I did some work on Ninja Turtles too, so...
More too. That's right. I'm Mike Pollack. I played Arthur Hawkins in the original. Perhaps you missed those episodes. Also in the series that dare not speak its name in GX, I was Bonaparte. And in other stuff, I'm Dr. Eggman in Sonic the Hedgehog, and I shared some Turtles episodes with Dan.
Hi, I'm Erica Schroeder. I was my Valentine after Megan Hollingshead, and I was at GX. I think I was Mana, and then in 5Ds I played Akiza, and also Raleigh Dawson, and a dual runner computer, and a couple other little characters here and there.
Hello, I'm Ted Lewis, and in the original series I was Bakura and Bandit Keith, and in GX I was Chumley, and in 5Ds Jack Atlas.
watch out.
Watch out. You can all leave now, you guys.
Howdy, I'm Wayne Grayson. I did the voice of Joey on Yu-Gi-Oh! As well as Shoddy. And in GX I was Syrus. I care about that as much as you do.
I care!
I popped up in 5Ds and in Zexal as well. And I was Michelangelo in Ninja Turtles with the fabulous Greg Abbey.
I was the ultimate ninja in Ninja Turtles, I forgot that one.
Too late. Too late. You had it wrong.
Mike, you were the garbage man.
Yes, I was the garbage man in Ninja Turtles.
Sure.
Who was the Arthur Hawkins of the Turtles series.
Every series. You were Kirby, were you not? You were Kirby.
I was Kirby in Ninja
Based on
Turtles.
Jack Kirby, the king.
Yes. Yes. So,
Credit where credit's due.
thank
It's
you.
true, it's true.
Sure, if you want. Yeah, I'm sure.
Thank you. Good night.
And that's all.
Thanks all for coming.
Yes, we can. You want me to do it? So she's saying we have to do our signature line.
Oh.
Tristan's pretty easy because this is pretty much all I said for 700 episodes. Just give me a second, I have to prepare. Go Yugi! Let's see, Yusei. From two come one, and from one come great cosmic might. I synchro summon Stardust Dragon! Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mine's a lot shorter.
Your turn, Yugi boy.
Grandpa said we could always believe in the heart of the cards.
That's right. It's time to duel!
We heard a lot of that.
Hello, I'm Professor Arthur Hawkins.
I'm gonna be king of the pirates.
Yes!
Because you heard that one a lot.
I'll do my Bakura first. I'm going to send Arthur Hawkins to the graveyard. And for Jack Atlas, of course, I'm Jack Atlas, the master of faster.
Master of faster. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yes. This isn't a line I think I I would call my my signature line, but I just like saying it. I gotta do it for my sister. Serenity. Go you! Alright?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. You sound just like that guy.
I do, don't I?
It's cool. Real hard. It's good. It's really good.
All right, I'd like to kick off the Q&A with a question to every single one of you. How did you get into voice acting?
Should we all answer that at once?
Sure.
Thing Eric Stewart
I've only been in the city for about 2 days.
I didn't quite get any of it.
Okay, I'll start. Let's see. Actually, Dan and I have known each other since we were 18, and we studied acting together at Rutgers University. And we had a very close friend of ours.
We still do.
He's still with us. His name is Tony, and he got into directing some anime, and so both Dan and I started doing a little bit of that. And then I just remember one day, which now is probably like 10, 12 years ago, he said, there's this company, 4 kids, and they're auditioning this show, Yugioh. You guys should go down and do it. So that was my first introduction, and I ended up getting Tristan, and that sort of got me in the door of 4 kids. And then once you're in the door at 4 kids, you sort of got an opportunity to audition for all their shows. And so that's, I mean, any of the cartoons I've done have been there, so that's where I got Turtles and obviously 5Ds, and you sort of had a chance to work on everything that they were doing. So that's sort of how I got in the door with this stuff. Darren.
Right. My first gig out of college was on the national tour of Pokemon Live, which was a live stage show that traveled through the eastern seaboard. And then the same producers, obviously, were producing this new show, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and I auditioned and was lucky enough to be cast in that, and then started directing for 4 kids, and been there 11 years.
Wow. Yes, you know, Darren directs, you directed 5Ds, as well as now you're directing Zexal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so like Greg said, it was largely through our friend Tony Salerno, who was working at Central Park Media that did a lot of dubbing stuff. And a lot of that work was going through Taj Studios, which was at the time doing Pokemon. So I actually had done some stuff on Pokemon, including the 3rd movie where I got to play a nice character, Entei. And then, yes, go ahead.
Come up, Dan.
And that was probably the first role where Entei is this kind of majestic creature and lion-like creature. And that was probably the first role where I started using that sort of commanding voice, which obviously became a large part of what was used in Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, so it was just being lucky enough to know somebody and not doing a terrible job and getting more work because of that.
I loved radio as a kid because that's how old I am. Little Orphan Annie would be on, and no, it's not that old.
I have Victro, huh?
Yes, and I would love listening to the wacky characters on the radio and some DJs that did wacky voices, and then also watching cartoons as a kid and realizing, hey, voices are fun to do. So when I grew up and got a career in radio, such as it was, I realized what I really loved was not playing the record in everybody at 7:20, 7, but doing the wacky voices in the commercials. And said, well, listen, have a lot more fun because you don't get bored because you're always doing a new character. So eventually, when I had enough of a demo tape together, there was an ad in what used to be the print edition of Backstage magazine for what turned out to be Pokemon. I sent in a demo cassette because that's how old it was, and got booked on an episode of Pokemon as the grandfather. Don't bother, you missed the episode, it's not worth it. And that was my entree in 4 Kids, and then when 4 Kids TV happened, I got spots on Kirby Right Back At Ya as the mayor and Samo the bartender. I was the voice of the promos for 4 Kids for the Fox Box for the first couple of years. And came Ultimate Muscle, and Ninja Turtles, and Sonic X, and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and Viva Pinata, and some other shows that I
love Viva. That was fun.
It was.
I love the commercial.
Yeah, Darren, how come you didn't mention Fighting Freedom? Can you direct that too?
Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'd no one here. And eventually I kept getting stuff, and that was very cool.
Mike was also a huge fan of cartoons, especially 80s cartoons, and I used to do lots of impersonations. But I went to school at NYU for acting, and I had a concentration in musical theater, and then also did a concentration in
Does that mean you were thinking really hard?
Shakespeare. Yeah, exactly.
Shit to match the panels.
And I got a call actually for the huge hit Ultraman Tiga.
Oh my God, that's right. You were on that.
That's how I started with I can never remember if it's Rena or Reina, which is terrible because it started out as one, and then we had to redub like 8 episodes and change my name. But I had a pretty good time with that. And then
Was that like one of those voicemail auditions for that?
No, I had to actually
You
go
went
in.
in?
Yeah. And then I think I actually auditioned for Dan Green.
Sure.
But yeah, then I got involved with a bunch of other shows there and been having a nice time working there for many, many years.
How did I get started in voiceovers?
Is this long
Perseverance. No.
I mean, that was a perfect.
I had actually never thought too much about doing voiceovers. I was doing some theater in the city, and I worked at the for a number of years. I worked at a record store on the Upper West Side, and I bumped into a guy, and we got to talking about this was the era of laser discs. Many years.
You're older than Mike.
And there were some anime. There was some anime, and he pointed out and said, "I direct some of these," and it just so happened that I had another friend who worked in anime, and I auditioned for. He got me in for my first audition. It was for a project called Record of Lodos War.
Oh.
And I auditioned for a character named Ato, and I got a job on my first try, which was kind of interesting. Never happened since. But that was the first job that I got, and that led to some other stuff. It led to meeting eventually. Yes, now and then here and there, which was that our friend Tony directed, which was a wonderful project. And I eventually met the guy who would produce Pokemon, and that got me kind of into the whole 4Kids thing. And then everything kind of snowballed from there. So.
See, the great thing about being last is I can just take snippets of everyone's story. Like, I went to NYU, actually, was a TA in Erica's stage combat class for a while, and was there for Shakespeare, graduated, and then after that, there was no money to be had, so I went to Backstage, which was a print edition thing, that they said, you mail in your picture and your resume, and give us $100, and we'll put your face and your resume in front of the faces of all these casting directors, and I did, and I out and out lied, and said I did voiceovers, which I had not done, but they thought I did because it said I did accents and dialects on my resume. I wasn't going to say no. I think I was casting anime. I don't even know what it's called. I forgot, it's so long ago. And getting that job got me into this circle because, and it's still the same now, a lot of studios kind of share their talent, and the one guy I worked for knew somebody at CPM, and then it may have been Tony. Tony may be the nexus here.
Yes.
But someone gave my name to Eric Stewart. Eric called me in for Yugioh, and the rest is history. Okay, next question.
All right, next question is, out of all the characters that you could play, who would you want to play? And I'm going to start with you, Wayne.
I wasn't paying attention to you. Can you repeat that? You took me off guard. My last. Just bullet point.
He was drinking his vodka, water.
Yes. Something about roles, playing. What?
Yeah, outside of the characters that you have played.
Yes.
Who would you want to have played?
Within the context of Yu-Gi-Oh? Or anything?
If you're all familiar enough with Yu-Gi-Oh characters, yes, that would be.
Well, then we'll skip that.
But if not, I won't fire you.
Dan actually did some stuff on the motion comics for Astonishing X-Men and Iron Man. Yes. I'd like to do a lot more straight up superheroes. I really want to play like Daredevil or Spider-Man. Even would be cool.
I would have loved to play mine, but I'm not right. I would say I would have loved to play Yugi because he's famous.
The little Yugi or Yummy Yugi?
Either would work. Yeah.
No. On the series, I'm not really sure, but I'd like to be any Sesame Street character. That would really make my day. And any old British lady, thank you.
I would love to have played the opening narrator on the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I auditioned for it and didn't book it.
Vengeance.
And apart from that, anything large and theatrical.
Arthur Hawkins didn't do a song and dance?
The Arthur Hawkins.
You weren't in the
Hawkins show.
movie? You weren't in the movie?
I was in the movie. I was the newscaster guy for 20 seconds.
But a memorable 20 seconds.
Yes.
Felt like a minute.
I left after that, so I don't know the movie.
From the classics Yu-Gi-Oh series, I actually thought it would be really fun to be Kaiba, get to be the bad boy, but Eric did it so well. And outside of that context, I like Wayne. I'm a big comic book fan, so Captain America is a favorite that I would like to take a stab at, and I also like Star Wars and stuff. So an animated version of Han Solo would be fun, or Chewbacca.
I guess I maybe want to do what I haven't done. I've never been like the sidekick, like the.
Oh, it's all wine and roses.
The Joey or
Sidekicks are great.
like what Bronk is in the current in Zexal, or
I think you do like a good cabaret character, like some character that's
he
saying.
would just sing the whole time. Kids love that.
That really goes over you. Small kids love cabaret. I mean, Yami Yugi would have been great to play. That would have been a lot of fun. I mean, I was Raphael and the Turtles, but I loved doing that show. It was great fun, and all those parts were actually good. I think Leonardo being the leader would have been good. You know, Wayne played Michelangelo, comic relief. That would have been a great part.
I prefer to think of myself as the philosopher of that.
Sorry. Of course. Bap. Yeah, and then I didn't think of it until they mentioned it, but Dan directed me in X-Men motion comic, which was an awesome experience.
Didn't you play my man in that?
I believe I did actually. Did I?
You played Cyclops.
I played Cyclops.
Emma Frost.
Oh.
And I was Beast.
I think I wanted to be your man, but I wasn't.
The day is young.
So yeah, actually Captain America, I mean obviously all that stuff's sort of taking over feature films, but I would love to do more of that work, especially because the writing was so great. So that's what I would say. I'd love to do more of that.
Yeah, that was a Joss Whedon script. So you know who Joss Whedon is, right?
Yes.
He's good.
He's good. He's good with the words putting together stuff.
Okay, I'm going to open up for questions from the floor.
I want to know why Wayne never recognizes that he's Dartz.
Oh no, I know I was Dartz. I just I don't want to spend an hour and a half running down on my various and nuanced Yu-Gi-Oh characters, but I know. Yes, I was the king of Atlantis. And I know. Yeah.
It's shoddy.
I acknowledge it here and now.
Calco, so it's like,
Well, now I will say it. Here and now, all the cameras. I played Dartz. Yes.
Yay!
Who is Dartz?
That is a logo. Thank you, Brad. He was a bad guy. In one of the,
So it's also a Gurma with these silver.
How annoying was it to work with 4 kids?
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah, it was really annoying cashing all those checks.
Awful.
And they all
To
cleared.
hang
That
out
was
with all
most
these
of them.
people, it's pretty fun.
That's actually the good thing about working there was
Pizza Friday.
being able to.
Horrible.
Pizza Friday
See
was
these people
fun.
every day.
Bagel Wednesday was great, but also
Bagel Friday, I saw a bagel there. yesterday.
Bagel Friday, Pizza Wednesday. Got them mixed up.
I think it's actually safe to say that regardless of what perception may be on the outside, working for the company wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's working for. There's a job.
I mean, like,
we
They
had
were
fun.
very loyal to us.
They were very loyal to us.
They put us on television.
Did you say up front, like when you get your, there was a time when there was sort of a rep company, we all did, we were
Yeah.
in like all the shows. It was really good
I
stuff.
mean, like any place you work for, there was
like
stuff that wasn't great, but I think more for maybe the full-time employees. I mean, the actors were sort of freelance, so we would just come in and work on the shows.
Do the fun stuff.
Yeah, and that was great. And it was also an opportunity, because as an actor, a lot of times you don't have a steady job or like a community you can sort of latch into. So I'll just speak for myself, it was a community of people and actors and creative people. And yeah, I just met a lot of great people. And maybe to their detriment, they sort of used us over and over. So once you got in, it was like guaranteed. I mean, we worked there and still are working there for 10, 12 years. So
I think the answer he was looking for was very.
Yeah. They used to have great. They also used to have great parties back in the day.
Yeah, that's true.
There was one time I remember some of them.
No, don't.
That's the evening time. The evening time.
Okay, that's the evening time.
well, and Yumi just mentioned too, and because a lot of times the 4Kids got grieved because they edited the shows, and Dan, you can speak more. Talk about exactly why they have to do what they have to do in terms of the.
Well, there are the standards of broadcast standards that they had to adhere to. So it wasn't necessarily their creative decision to be forced to take blood out of the scene or to make something less edgy or less violent.
Give somebody a lollipop.
Give somebody a lollipop, change their costume, right, as opposed to a cigarette or something. So, and then of course there's other stuff where since they can't follow through with a storyline in a certain way because it may be perceived to be objectionable to kids in America, then they have to change the content or the idea behind such things. And so it really, I don't think, was so much of them being trying to ruin the material. They were trying to bring material into the public in a way that they could broadcast it. So while people may have some grievances with what they did, they really were trying to get the material out there as best they could. So now, I've also done a lot of anime, as we all have, where it goes direct to DVD. So you don't have those restrictions. And I think it can be a common misperception among the fan base because they see certain anime that is very true to its original source, and then other anime that is changed. And I can understand, well, why would they do that? Well, that's why, it's broadcasting standards.
So it's the broadcasting
All right.
we're gonna take down.
You got that? So back off.
I want to throw something into that, if that's okay. Well, I was going to say, I don't think that Yu-Gi-Oh would have even been as huge of a hit if it wasn't aimed towards the younger audience like it was.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that if it was aimed to be, have content kept in and it was just for teenagers, then it wouldn't have boomed as much as it did. And they probably wouldn't be still alive here in America today.
Bless you.
Yes, Dan Green.
Yeah.
I would like to challenge you for the title of King of Games.
You will so win. I wouldn't even be a challenge.
You do for you should be like sitting behind me and just like voice everything I do.
I am not a good duelist. But the characters I portray.
Geeks, however, might get tough.
I'm pretty good with geeks.
There's that.
This one's for Dan Green again.
Yeah.
Out of all the duels that Yugi's ever had, or Yami, either one, which one was your personal favorite?
I get asked that question a lot, and I don't remember any of them. No, I'm kidding. It was always fun to fight Kaiba and Pegasus as well. I think that first season had a really nice arc to it, and that was very satisfying. But I think, and this is going to sound completely narcissistic, but that's me. When the series concluded and it was Yugi versus Yami, I thought that was story-wise, that was a very interesting duel. But the fun thing about the various duels, you can fall into the trap of thinking like, oh, this is just another version of me yelling out a card, whatever. So you do try to keep in mind what is specifically happening story-wise, what's the emotional content, what's the motivation of the character. So when dueling Joey, that was challenging too. When you were all possessed.
Yes, I was all possessed.
All possessed. That was the official term.
I think they did write that. They were like,
you're all possessed.
They would write my lines like Joey in the accent, then they write Joey with the accent, but all possessed.
All possessed, yeah.
I gotta talk like this, but be kind of a zombie about it.
Erica Schroeder, what is your favorite monster that you've played?
Oh, my favorite monster. Oh, well, Black Rose Dragon, for sure. Yeah.
Good save.
The
answer.
No, for sure, that's definitely.
I'll go again.
First I want to say you guys are. Oh, I'm gonna. Okay. I can hold the mic for you or not. Okay. First I want to say you guys have done a wonderful job on the show, and I really appreciate for all you have done. And then also to add to what Melinda said is, without 4Kids, I don't think maybe like 99% of us would have even known what Yu-Gi-Oh was. So despite the edits, I really do appreciate that they brought it over in the first place. But actually, my question is, now that actually the license has passed to Konami, is it possible that we'll see more of the like uncut dub or actually finishing GX or 5Ds? You know, I would like that.
I like to know that Jaden lived.
Where 5Ds was gonna go. Yeah, for sure.
Euphoria.
They made it like Jaden died.
Yeah,
Sorry,
in
it's more of a wait
GX.
and see.
To be continued. Yeah.
Speaking about like the dub stuff, why did you guys never dub the original Yu-Gi-Oh? The one based with the Bandai cards?
The Toei animation.
Oh, these are decisions that we make. So we're just stupid actors. Well, some of us are stupid. Myself included.
And some of us are actors.
Ted's actually a hand puppet. He's not.
I'm not really. We would be interested to do that, but.
This is directed towards Mike. Could you do Dr. Eggman's voice?
Sure I can. There, I just did it.
This is another question for Mike. Arthur Hawkins, if he could duel anyone in the anime besides Solomon, who do you think he'd go for?
That's an excellent question. I think he should take on Yugi.
What I do to you?
Oh, you know.
Yeah. Oh.
First of all, I think he should take on his granddaughter, but my question is for Erica and Wayne. What was it like playing the two best characters ever created in Joey Wheeler and Akiza?
It was the best.
I have to.
Ladies first. Do you want to address that?
I thought it was awesome. I had a lot of fun. And I wonder how many of you out there think that Akiza and Yusei were having a relationship.
They didn't dub it.
If they finish it,
Bring it.
You know. Yeah, at the end, you know, don't spoil it.
I can see that.
Yeah, hopefully they'll do that.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll finish the last one.
Wink, 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 wink.
Yumi.
I feel like Akiza too is the first really strong female character / duelist.
Right. You have every responsibility, Erica.
No, but Akiza took it seriously and didn't use her sexual wiles to get what she wanted.
They did take my cleavage out. 4Kids did take my cleavage out. You can thank them for that.
Is that true?
Yes. I believe they toned it down quite a bit.
Bastards.
And I think the suspenders went away as well, no?
Oh,
really? That's very. I can understand that.
Yeah.
That's offensive.
It's still in the
sorry.
artwork
Okay.
behind her.
And I love playing Joey, thank you. Can't follow that whole discussion of your costume.
This comes from Twitter, but they asked, was it at all difficult to voice your particular characters throughout the series, or what did you find most difficult?
This general question?
Yeah, general.
What is a Twitter? I'm as old as Mike.
Listen, John.
I remember in some of Bakura's duels, you know, it was just kind of technically, as an actor, you know, when there'd be a lot of screaming, I'm sure that most of the actors would agree that it can get tough after a while. And literally, there were points where I'd be in the booth and I'd feel lightheaded. And usually the director could tell, they would, do you need a break? Yes. And so that's the toughest thing I think for me was to voice some of the duels that went on, and you know, it's kind of taxing.
I think it's also it's the actor's responsibility, but it's also the director's to keep a consistency in the voice. Because it's amazing sometimes if you go back and listen to the beginning of a series,
it's a lot different.
It can really change if you don't sort of stay on top of it.
Sometimes the director takes over and sort of changes the character.
Yeah, that's true too.
Like when Darren took over and Akiza became much more mature and lower, and she was kind of aging too, but I mean, I think his vision, your vision of her was a much stronger character than the original vision.
I think I came into just when she was about to start her duel training, which kind of fed into that, I think, too.
And you asked me before something about my accent as Jack. You said something about, what kind of an Australian accent was that? I don't know. Because I remember auditioning for the part with an Australian accent, and then when I went back in, they said, could you tone it down a little bit? And then it kind of went away. But in my heart, I was still very much.
Well, that's it, yeah. I mean, not only the director, but sometimes producers change, you get a different idea of what they want, which doesn't really make sense once you get going. And also, sometimes you sort of feel out the character those first 6 or 10 episodes, which isn't necessarily the best thing, but sometimes you sort of find it as you go along and then lock into something. But yeah, that can definitely, you just gotta watch that, I think.
Yeah, the initial episodes of Yugioh, they had Yami and Yugi more similar to my natural voice. And then it became, let's make Yugi higher, and then it became, let's make Yami more commanding and authoritative sounding. So in the latter seasons, the difference between the two is really much bigger. And what, just to echo off of what Greg was saying, I get notes in the script, and in the subsequent seasons when they were finding that they were liking the more commanding version of Atem, they would say things like, okay, now Yami it up here, you know? And you're like, okay. And then it sounded like he had anger issues.
There were times too when either was a specific writer wasn't as familiar or whatever, but they would write Joey a lot smarter than he was supposed to be. And I'd have to go, I wouldn't say anti-establishmentarianism, that doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't say that.
Not even with a Brooklyn accent? No?
I'm not going to do it.
This is a question towards Wayne. Can you do a mockery line as Michelangelo towards Raph?
Can I do, I heard mockery and Raph. What else?
Michelangelo to Raph.
Do
a mocking line.
A mocking line as Mikey to Raph? Mikey! It's been so long since I've done Michelangelo.
Come on.
Hey, Raph! Swell driving, Speedo!
Shut it! I'm gonna come over there and bap ya!
How's that? Come on, right? Pretty priceless. I hope you were recording. It's
good to come back.
It's pretty incredible. These guys look a little shifty in the back. Let's keep an eye on that.
Security?
Security.
Numbers do not till the intermission, please. You're really ruining the performance.
Dan, what did you like more, the Egyptian gods or Exodia?
Oh, that's so funny. The Egyptian gods are great. Personally, I like Egyptology, legend. But I really like saying Exodia obliterate. Really gratifying.
Ask for that one.
Yeah, come on, man. Give it to us.
Okay.
Hold on. I gotta get this.
Yeah.
All right.
Make sure you're filming.
All right.
That's $100, by the way. Yeah, remember that, buddy, when you put it up on YouTube. Actually, $1,000.
Exodia, obliterate!
Come on! Come on!
He wouldn't stop saying that in the car ride up here.
I know. Shut up, Dan. We get it.
Between Rick's reckless driving and you're screaming.
Why do you think I was screaming?
Right. I was pretty drunk on the trip up, so.
He sobered up in the last 5 minutes.
This one's to Wayne. How did you feel about the duel between Joey and Yugi? How did I feel about the duel? Well, I think the series was kind of setting that up so it didn't really come out of the blue, like I knew it was going to happen. And the cool thing is that as the series progressed over time, and the cool thing again about 4 Kids is that we got to meet each other and kind of have a rep company, I got to become friends with Dan outside of the booth, and so it was kind of, oh yeah, I'm bonding with this guy, and it fed the character's angst about having to battle his best friend. And so yeah, I was kind of like excited about it, and yet a little scared. I knew he was going to win.
Much like life.
Dan wins.
Always.
That's
just a question. What was your opinions, directed at anyone, on 4Kids censoring Yugioh, like, in particular, with the...
This is why you need to get here on time, sir.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Oh, it's okay.
That's okay.
I mean, Dan sort of spoke to this, but basically, I think we all sort of understand the fans that really like the story that was coming from Japan, and you know, 4Kids definitely took some of the edgy stuff out of that, but they had to. I just would never get on the air. It just can't. And even if they wanted to, there's a standards and practices in the U.S. They're not going to allow it. You just won't get it on the air. And you can argue, as some of the fans have, that it broadened the audience then because it played to kids that would have never seen it otherwise. But I mean, I can appreciate that, and that's why a lot of people watch it in Japanese online, which you can do, you know. But 4Kids shouldn't be blamed for that, and they always sort of have been, but they can't do anything. They have to do that. They have no choice, you know. So, yeah, so Yumi wants to speak to that.
And just to add to that, they actually fight back against the broadcasters, especially when they think that the broadcasters are being overly restrictive. So they did the best that they could. And also, just because Konami's in charge, it doesn't mean that all of that editing is going to go away. We're still under the same broadcast standards and practices.
But right. What if they move to like Cartoon Network or cable channel? Because I know they're a bit more lenient.
It's a question of whether we can get a broadcast on those channels or not. And Cartoon, the CW is where its home is right now.
Yeah.
This one's directed towards Dan.
Yeah.
During the Yami and little Yugi 4-part episode where they duel, do you think it was unfair that Yami got all 3 Egyptian gods?
Do I think it was unclear?
Unfair.
Oh, unfair. Oh, it's hard to say. I mean, I like both those guys. So, how do you mean unfair? Do you think like it made it too easy for him, or?
He lost.
Well, I know, but
it made it too hard for him. There you go.
What did you think was unfair?
A little bit.
You're often in the position of just approaching it like when you're performing as, you know, how does it serve the story? And since I don't duel, I don't look at it as, well, you know, this is not a decent way to do this duel or to, you know, to play this round, right? So I think it helped the story.
So my question is for everyone, but in particular like Ted Lewis and Wayne Grayson. How do you guys decide to put accents on your performances? Like in your case, British for Bakura and Australian for Jack.
I just throw stuff out there and see what sticks. And whether they like it or not.
It's like jazz.
No, basically.
Usually in a breakdown, isn't it? Usually in a
Yeah,
breakdown?
it is. Usually, if you know any time that I've gone in, you know, whether it's Bakura who has a British accent or Jack Atlas who has a accent. Guess what it is? I don't know. They usually, from the first audition, they know, okay, this guy is, you know, he's from, you know, he's Bakura. They said, you know, he's a kid from the UK. He's, you know, moved to America from the UK and this, that, whatever. So can you give me a British accent or whatever? So it's usually right at the first audition. Sometimes, you know, there are times where they'll, you know, have you tweak it or try something new or what have you. But usually they know ahead of time when we go in, giving them, you know, what they've requested for the character.
Okay.
Occasionally, from a casting point of view, I know my current producer, for example, in the initial casting was fairly open if people wanted to try things. You know, I don't know if you watched Zexal, but the character of Astral and
you might. There might be some people who watch it.
Astral, we read men and women. He was open.
I really wanted that part.
Sorry. And Bronx, you know, some people submitted an accent, some people didn't. One person did Chicago, one person did New York. Like, he was fairly open, and I appreciate that about him, that he's fairly open to suggestions. Of course, then it has to go past a whole bunch of other hurdles to get approval by other people too. But yeah, often it's in the breakdown though, right?
I have a request for Dan and a question for everyone. What is your favorite season of the original Yu-Gi-Oh? And can Dan please say the oath for Ra?
Oh gosh.
Jesus.
How does the oath for Ra go again?
Almighty protector of the sun and sky, I beg of thee, please heed my cry. Transform thyself from
Exodia! If you were to write that down so I could read it,
Okay.
I would be happy to do that. What was it?
I like the first season best.
Oh, right, the season.
Agreed.
Yeah, first season and last season, I think, for me.
Late fall.
How many seasons were there?
5.
I mean, there were 5 seasons.
You were so on top of it.
Yeah, totally.
Alright, I'm just gonna ask Yami, do you think in the first season it was unfair that Tristan lost the only duel he was ever in?
That's Tristan, though.
Yes. I was very frustrated. I'd get the script and I'd be like, maybe today's the day. Maybe Tristan will finally get to duel. Did I duel? Was that in a dream? That was like in a dream. Wasn't it against 2 other people? I don't remember.
And then you got turned into a
It doesn't feel like I ever dueled, that's all I can say.
Oh.
It was a 3-on-1 duel.
Yes.
He also lost to Tam.
Let's not talk about his loss. It's really a sore spot with me. But, no, I was just glad. Tristan was fun and he had awesome hair, so I was just glad to have an opportunity. You guys, I'm trying to talk. No, so yeah, I wish he had dueled more, but I got the chance to play Yusei, so I got to do plenty of shouting. I mean, dueling.
Yeah, just you guys go on.
Preparing. I don't know, is anyone interested, I'm surprised this hasn't been asked yet, but anyone interested in voice acting, getting into voice acting?
No. Oh, you mean now?
It depends on the day. On the deal. I mean, because I think, I don't know, I've just gotten this question before, so I always tell people, I think it's very difficult to do if you're not in a major city, which is really New York or Los Angeles, or I guess maybe Chicago, but I think specifically anime, you really have to be in New York or LA, someone else can sort of speak to this. I also sort of feel, and I've always felt this about acting, is that you can't sort of halfway do it. If you're interested in doing it, you have to really go for it, because if you don't, you just won't get in. There's too many people that want to do it and want to try to do it. I think that voice acting should be taken seriously as any kind of acting, and for me, I always tell people if you're interested in being a voice actor, you should take acting class first, or as part of whatever. You know, if you have an opportunity where you live to take voice classes, obviously, but it's important to study to be an actor, because even in this stuff, you know, I studied acting in college, but I certainly utilized some of the stuff that we learned in school, you know, doing this. So that's what I say to people, and mostly the main thing is like, if you're gonna do it, you gotta really do it and commit and work hard, because
we're all actors who do voice work.
Right. There's just too many people in the business trying to do it, so.
I'm ready to lay this oath down, I think. You're ready? Okay.
$1,000, buddy.
$1,000.
Yeah, my fault. I can't record it.
Great beast of the sky, please hear my cry. Transform thyself from orb of light and bring me victory in this fight. Envelop the desert with your glow and cast your rage upon my foe. Unlock your powers from deep within so that together we may win. Appear now in this shadow game as I call your name, Winged Dragon of Ra!
Go, Yugi!
Yeah.
You can do it!
Tim, calm down. You're always so angry.
My turn's gonna be in direction. Okay, guys.
You talk good.
One more time from the top, Dan.
And thanks for the phone. I appreciate
That
that.
was really, yeah.
This is for Dan and Wayne. I was wondering what part of the Awakening the Dragons arc you guys like to voice over the most?
Who's asking? I can't see where you are.
Could you repeat the question? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
one more time.
During the Awakening the Dragons arc, the part with the Celoborg Calcos, what was your favorite duel to voice?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
I just like anytime I have to say Orichalcos.
it's fun to say. Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, sorry, that's not a great response. But
Stole your thunder there?
No. I have nothing else to contribute. Sorry. I mean, it was cool art.
That was a good story.
You know, whenever you're performing though, you always got to find something to like about what you're doing, so you can get into it with some conviction. You know, so
Wait,
you know.
money wasn't good enough?
What's that?
Money wasn't good enough?
Money was good.
No
way was the money good enough. We drove here.
A young Republican voter sitting there. That's good.
Yeah. Okay.
This is just a general question, but was it tough to transition from one storyline to the next, be it from Duelist Kingdom to Domino City, or escaping the satellite to whatever that
Right.
Lord's type was?
Right. What's tricky is, again, finding a way to invest in what you're saying, right? Having a purpose to speak these lines other than cash a check, right? So that's when you're really relying on the director, and Darren is an excellent director. You're welcome. And because as the actor, you're walking into the situation never having read the script before. So it's not like, for instance, if you were to audition for a play, you get to read the whole play. You come in and you audition a scene or two, and then you spend weeks rehearsing your scenes and developing the play, and you have a lot of time to absorb the story and make choices. When you're doing this sort of work, you're coming in a very improvisational circumstance, right? So you have to be open to whatever you might need to do that day. And that's when you put your faith in the director to explain what you need to understand to get into the character, get the appropriate feeling across. And so that's the challenge anytime you walk into the booth. And some storylines you're going to enjoy more than others, based on the ideas behind it, based on what your character gets to do, you know? So
I think what he said is really true, especially with this work. It's fast.
Yeah.
I mean, you move, you get in, you don't get the scripts before, you get them when you walk in the booth. You really got to make a choice. You really got to sell it, have conviction, and go, because you're not coming back to do it again, probably. So you really got to move, and you have to rely on the director to do. So it's important. I mean, I personally think it's a very weird skill, actually, because, you know, in most acting, is really the basis of most acting is working off the other person. And in this work, you go into the booth by yourself, and you're watching the screen, and you got your scripts, and you're hearing the beeps, and you got a general sense of what's going on, and then you're just hitting it. And to do that is really just certainly the acting part is important, and you have to bring that, but it's a very unique skill, and not everyone can do it.
On your first instincts.
Yeah.
Really rely on your first instincts. So some theater actors just don't transfer well to it because they have more of a process and they need to mull it over and stuff. Some are great.
We can do it all, Erica.
For those of us with a short attention span, this is actually a perfect line of work.
That's right, you don't have to memorize lines.
I can just read off the page. Yes.
I'm definitely happy to see the arcs come and go.
Yeah.
There was like a country western sort of arc in 5Ds. I don't know if you guys remember. And I remember when we first started, it was only Yusei. Everyone else disappeared, and I was sort of confused. I didn't know why we were doing it necessarily. But by the end, I was glad to have worked with a handful of brand new actors. No offense to.
Yeah, none taken.
And then I got to have the old actors back again. And no, it was pleasant to start, to finish, and to go back to the regular.
Nice to have episodes where there was no dueling too. It was really rare, but like very exciting to get into the character.
Very rare.
Like learn a little bit about your character. I love that stuff.
Is a guy back?
This is for Dan. I'm not sure if this was asked or not, but I came late. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The duel between Yugi and Yami, was that difficult for you? Like, what was?
No, I was acknowledging I understand your question. It was not difficult. It was fun. It was challenging, and because it was such an important element between those two characters. Not that you take any moment for granted, but you know there are certain things that you really want to make sure are as excellent as they can possibly be, and you also want to make sure that you're, in that pursuit, you're bringing as much character and heart and conviction, and also hopefully some nuance, so that not everything is just yelling, you know? Being loud is not the same thing as being passionate, you know? So, and, you know, and trying to understand what the dynamic is with those characters. And every time I would record Yugi first, and then do Yami. Because Yami, typically, I'm going lower, and it's easier for me to be higher and then go lower than the other way around. That's just, you know, technically. So I wouldn't say that it was difficult, but I would say the challenge was exciting.
How many hours do you think one of those episodes took for you?
Well,
6.
6 hours. No, they never.
2 hours. 2 hours.
Come on, 7.
Between 2 and 100.
3 hours per.
No, like a typical main character might have about 4 hours of work for an episode.
Right.
So if it was 2 of them, I wonder if you were.
Yeah, I was probably close to 8 or 6. I don't know. Yeah. In general, they want you to, you know, do a good job, but they also want you to do it in an efficient period of time. Typically, that breaks down to doing maybe about 30 cues an hour. That's on the low end. If you get to know a character well, though, you can do as many as like 50 an hour. And at that point with the show, it was easy to be fluid. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have another question for Greg. Do you think you're going to beat Erica tonight?
I'm sorry.
What did you say?
Good question.
Do you think you're going to win?
Against me.
I know. Just thinking about it.
I think I have a good shot. That's all I'll say.
Playing the duel in his head 100 times.
He's practicing right now.
Just a couple more questions, I guess we have time for.
We have a duel to practice for.
Yeah,
that's right.
Get ready for that.
This question is for Dan and Wayne. If there were a duel between Yuma attacking between Yuma and Shock versus Yugi and Joey, who would win?
Oh, I'm gonna win.
Yeah, it is called Yugioh and not Joey-O.
So there were some episodes.
There were some episodes where it may as well be called.
Very Joey. Yeah.
Very Joey.
I think he would win, yes.
That'd be King of Games and all. You know.
Oh, that Joey.
now.
So it's obvious that you guys do voice acting and you're very passionate about it. Have any of you ever done like live action, like on TV or like in a movie?
Greg? I've done a very little bit lately. I was on an episode of The Good Wife, which maybe your parents watched that show. I played a lawyer, and then actually last night I was on the show called Blue Bloods, which is a cop show with
Your grandparents might watch.
And everyone's going, no.
No, there ain't no.
But, you know, I will say, years ago, we had the good fortune, Greg and Ted, Darren, and I, and Dan directed, we did a play. That Greg actually spearheaded and produced, and we made us Broadway stars.
Yeah.
No, it was a very fun experience. We had a great time, and we actually some stuff did result from that professionally. I think.
Yeah, I've done a theater. That had a large theater background right when I get out of school, and then I did some stupid things in the soap opera here and there. Nothing amazing. I did a terrifically bad independent movie. It really was horrible. It's astoundingly bad. And then one that wasn't so bad. But I haven't been doing anything on camera for about 12 years.
Perhaps you've seen me in the movies I go quite often.
Wait, Ted, what is your stage name? Ryan Gosling?
Perhaps you saw me in Drive, where my version was Drive Away.
I did one episode of the Chappelle Show, which was fun. Hanging out with Dave Chappelle for the day.
I think I saw that.
He kept asking where his cookies and weed were.
It's good to have those things together.
It's obvious with all the different generations of Yu-Gi-Oh! That you guys don't always get the chance to work together. With the latest movie that just came out, how did it feel to finally be able to work together again?
That was awesome.
It was great. Because the original series had been over for a while, right?
Long time.
And the other thing is that you got to, the thing that I struggled with sometimes with the series is there's so much dueling that you don't get a chance for the characters to just sort of talk to each other. There was a little bit more of that, and I just thought it was I thought it was cool to have all three of them together at the same time. So.
Yeah, and I hadn't done anything Yugi like for years before we got to that movie, and it was like visiting an old friend. It was like, oh, I remember this character. Well, that's true. That's true. So yeah, it was fun.
Last question.
This one's for Ted Lewis. Yes. This is for a friend. This is for a friend of mine. I want to record it for him. Could you say in Jack's voice, "I summon the Red Dragon Archfiend"? Just
I summon Red Dragon Archfiend.
Can you do it with French now? Is that
yeah. I summon Red Dragon Archfiend.
Southern maybe?
I summon Red Dragon Archfiend.
Now Canadian German.
German?
French Southern. Yeah.
All right, sorry to cut it short, but as I said earlier, we have a scripted duel, or a live duel to prepare for. We do have another panel tomorrow, don't forget, and there'll be an autograph session later on today at 4:30. Is there a second one? 6:30. At 6:30. Don't forget the donation box.
Yeah, this is a benefit for Dan, so if you enjoyed it today, please
Donate.
share a donation. Yes.
I deeply appreciate all of your help and compassion. Thank you.
What's the live?
The live duel is between rounds